Have you ever had a meaningful and personal life changing experience? For me, it was choosing a negative path of destruction to ultimately get to the path of fulfillment. For many years, I had lived a life of rebellion. At the age of 18 in 1992, I chose to live a life of selling drugs. All my neighborhood friends were doing it, and it just seemed like the best thing to do at that time in my life. Of course, it was very lucrative, and I began making a lot of cash doing so. In my shallow way of thinking, I thought I was living the American dream. I continued on this path of destruction for the next 7 years. In January of 1999, I was involved in a drug sting that got me caught up and arrested by the local police and sheriff department. On August 10th, 1999, I was incarcerated into the state of Ohio penitentiary system, where I pled guilty to a mandatory sentence of 1 year. This took me to the lowest point of my life, where I felt empty on the inside, and I had hated the path I had chosen in life. I knew there was something greater, but I didn't know who or what that was. I'd been married only a few weeks before being sent away, and after being gone about a month, I remember leaving the phone area a little choked up, not realizing how many lives that were affected by my negative choices that led me to be incarcerated. The following day I will never forget as long as I live. It was September 19th, 1999, and I was still at Lorraine Correctional Institution, which is where I received my institution number and was waiting to be shipped off to my parent institution to finish serving the rest of my time. The 19th was a Friday, and our dorm had recreation from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The COs opened our cells, and we were all waiting outside our cells to be taken to the recreation dorm, which is across the yard. I was still feeling like crap from the previous evening phone call, and I didn't really want to be bothered. Another inmate named Juan Morris, who had seen me leave the phone area the evening before, came up to me to ask how I was doing. He was a devout Muslim, and all throughout recreation we sat at a picnic table, and he was speaking to me about God. He was showing me several verses in the Bible to show me the hypocrisy of the Bible. Now, about 10 years prior to this, my mother became a born-again Christian who had constantly prayed for me and reminded me how much God loved me. So Juan continued to share Bible verses with me until recreation was over and we were taken back to our cells. All day those scriptures he shared with me kept running through my mind. It's as if God was speaking to me all day, and of course I didn't understand what was happening. At 8 p.m. that evening, after buffing our dorm floors, I went into a bathroom cell and closed the door behind me, and I remember saying this statement: God, if you are real, come into my life. At that moment, I heard a voice speak to me, and I fell to my knees weeping and began asking God for forgiveness of my sins, asking for his mercy for all the people I hurt, and asking Jesus into my heart. I remember an overwhelming heat coming over me as if a blanket was laid over me. I remember saying things like, I knew you were real, but I didn't know you were this real. I remember this huge weight and heaviness that I felt instantly coming off me, and I felt a peace over my life that I hadn't ever felt before. From this moment on, I never even talked the same, such as cussing. It was just gone. I knew that a dramatic change had come over my life, and I remember the next day looking in my steel mirror on the wall and saying to myself, what happened? The Tuesday coming up, I was getting a visit from my mother and sister, and I couldn't wait to tell her that I had finally surrendered my life to God. So as I entered into the visiting room, I said, Mom, I have something to tell you. Her response to me was, Son, I already know. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, right. How do you know? So I said to her, what? What do you know? She said, I already know that you surrendered your life to God and asked Jesus into your heart. I was sitting with my mouth to the floor, like, how did you know that? She stated she was at a prayer meeting last Friday, and a woman who just joined her church, not knowing she had a son in prison, came up to her and said to my mother to stop worrying about your son in prison, that God just took over his life. So then I began to question what time did this happen, and she said around 8 p.m., which was exactly the time that I was having that experience with God. From that day forward, I never questioned my encounter with God. That was all the confirmation I needed to continue on my journey with God. This experience has changed me from the core out. My heart has never been the same, and the way I see life has never been the same. It has given me purpose and hope that if God can change me, then He can change anyone. I don't take things for granted that I previously took for granted. God has given me a testimony that I don't hesitate to share because He has taken a broken and beat up inmate to a man helping pastor a church and giving others hope. I am eternally grateful and doing my best to enjoy life with my family and doing things God's way. Well, it will be 20 years this September since I had this encounter, and I remember it as if it was yesterday. I don't know why God chose me and allowed me to have this experience with Him, but I am thankful that He did. If I didn't have this moment with God, I know that I would have come out of prison worse than when I went in, and more than likely would have become a repeat offender or even ended up dead. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm going to cherish that moment and share it with everyone that I can and hope that my story could touch someone's life in a positive way. In the end, my wife at the time served my divorce papers and I lost everything materially. I believe it was God's way of stripping me of everything that has and was associated with that lifestyle. Today I'm in a great place with a wonderful wife and children, and I'm truly enjoying the journey of life. Thank you, and God bless you.